The Mayo Experience.
That Mayo Experience. That Mayo Experience. That Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, presented by DraftKings. BMW Championship Picks preview, the final one and done of the year. And I think that Geoff and I have both officially lost the one and done to Cuss, who was on a heater all year long. So it's one of those outlier years. Once every 9 years, he's going to win one of these things. We did this with a game that I used to play with Cuss and one of my friends. And the joke was that he would win once in 27 times in a three-man competition. And boy, would he win once in every 27 times and blow us out of the water. And then it'd be back to the losing streak. So we'll see how football season goes. Geoff, Cuss, and I have a show coming out on Thursday. So please pay attention to that. That's going to be a fun one. We've already recorded it. It's a gangbuster one. You've already seen a clip of Cuss going absolutely bananas at Sean Payton. It's a lot of fun, that show. Tomorrow, I'm with Jake Seeley going over the top 150 players in my fantasy football rankings. And, of course, Tambo will be in studio or via the internet, one of the two anyway, on Wednesday to do the DraftKings side and the finale of the DraftKings Pick Show for the fantasy golf season before we dive headfirst into football until golf returns back in January, full-time on the Pat Mayo Experience. So smash the like while you're here. Playing the Week 1 DraftKings Listeners League, just like the golf one. There's no golf one this week or for the rest of the year. Maybe Ryder Cup. We'll see about that. But it's $15 to play, 3 max entry, no rake. I think it's already 20% full, and Week 1 is still like 3 weeks away or whatever it is. So get your spot now before they're all gone, all right? Geoff Fienberg, I can assure you there was no way I would have wagered money on Lucas Glover last week. So I didn't win.
I can assure you the big football season deposit I was really hoping to not have to make by hitting something is now inevitable. Lucas Glover's gone God mode, and I fucking hope that there's a threesome waiting for him in Chicago. If your wife's gonna beat you when you're down, she better be going banana right now. Like rusty trombone banana with a friend. He's earned it.
Oh, we got a little bit of insight into what goes on in the Fienberg household.
Oh, no. Doesn't work like that.
So this week, I'll make the pick show easy for you. Tommy Fleetwood's going to win this week because there's no chance anyone's going to bet him at 18-1.
I don't even know what to say about that. There's about 3 or 4 lifeless putts from him yesterday. It's kind of expected. When that happens, it's to say, you can't be surprised that Fleetwood didn't come through. He teases you enough, which is the worst, but we'll see. That's that. I don't want to do it, Pat. It's just too depressing. But I'd rather do that than do the most painful Chargers losses of all time of the last 15 years. But I think at some point we should rank which was his worst second or third place finish.
I can give it to you. Canada is number 1. The year that you were at Honda is number 2.
As green side for both, baby. I don't know. He is. It is. I don't want to criticize. Lovely chap. Clearly, I'm not going to say anything mean. Mean things are being said at him. People tweet me like it's the Chargers, Pat. When the Chargers do something horribly and people have lost money on it. I'm a whipping boy, I guess, and it sort of was like that a bit for my Menchies yesterday.
Just feeling bad for you about old poor Tommy Fleetwood. Can't make a 3-foot putt.
Yeah, he can't. He used to even be better at them. He used to hit them with a little more life. He doesn't hit anything with any sort of attitude. He doesn't. Everything is just short of the hole, 90% of the time. And every time you think he's hit an approach, let's go, momentum, and misses the putt yesterday. So that was real painful. Lucas Glover going banana. I mean, crazy, deserved, earned. Pat, do you know the PGA Tour doesn't have comeback player of the year anymore?
They don't. Well, is it because it's impossible to figure out what comeback player actually means? Or we just went through this in the NFL, that no one has any idea what it means. And there's no way Damar Hamlin doesn't win the NFL one this year. That I know.
I'll bet you against that.
You don't
I've stepped in.
You're stepping in front of Damar Hamlin winning the comeback player of the year?
No, I think there's an incredibly strong case to be made that he doesn't win comeback player of the year, in that he's a rotational. Like, what happened to him was the scariest thing ever, but it's an Alex Smith price for not an Alex Smith situation. He's going to be closer to a pick'em by the time that award goes off, because football games are going to be played. Players that are actually relevant to their team's success are going to make contributions, and he's going to be a rotational safety.
Okay.
So we'll see. The numbers now is crazy. It will be like a pick'em because guys are going to play well and guys will make actual football cases for the award. But like the guy was, I don't know. I could say something. It's just like, to pick on it, you're like picking on a dude who came back from the dead. I don't want to do that. But there was never a moment once that he was going to like not play week one.
Well, I mean, there was the part where he almost died and they didn't know if he was going to be alive. Then at that point,
correct.
At
so
that
like
point, at that point, they didn't think he was going to play in week one.
Okay, yes. I mean, after that, like, he was already celebrated at last year's Super Bowl. Like, if John Mechie goes and gets 1,000 yards, the guy had leukemia. He didn't have, like, I had thyroid cancer, Pat. That was like, in out surgery. It was like, whoa, but it was done. It was easy. It's the easiest, best, like, least deadly cancer you can have. I also didn't have to write an exam or do an assignment for like a year and a half. And that was amazing in university. I milked that for all it was worth. Not all cancers are the same. Leukemia, that's scary shit. So it's not like they're going from dead man to nothing. They can go from dead man to leukemia. There's a lot of like ways this cannot go Damar Hamlin's ways. I don't think it's auto at all. What I wanted to joke was that Lucas Glover, the reason comeback player of the year went away in the PGA Tour was because they gave it to Steve Stricker 2 years in a row. People didn't understand how that happened.
But that actually makes that does make a lot of sense, though. Because when you look at those 2 years, he came back from like playing on the Canadian tour or wherever it was, and he like played all right on the PGA Tour. But then he became like one of the best players in the world the year after. It was just like, it was a mini leap that was like a huge leap from the time from where he was. But then it was another huge leap that he became such an impact guy.
But that situation essentially broke. Like, they didn't even try to, like how football and other leagues still find ways to finesse a meaning to it, or the ambiguity of like what the actual criteria is. After that happened, the PGA Tour just said, screw it. The funny thing is, like, that award would be crazy. Like, even like if that was an actual odds board, Pat, Ricky probably would have been like minus 800 like 2 weeks ago.
I still
1,000.
I still think that Ricky would win the award. Why would Glover win the award? He won 2 years ago. It's not like he lost his card or anything like that.
Yeah, maybe, again, it would be the ambiguity of it all. I'm just saying, like, Ricky would have gone from minus 1,000 to like this morning. Now he might have been close to a pick'em. And then, I don't know, PG, you're right. Golf is so complex. It would really be a hard award in many respects. But yeah, I just wanted to note, Stricker winning it 2 times in a row is what broke it on the PGA Tour.
You know who I would actually give my comeback player of the year award to is Ben And, who lost his card,
Incredible.
had to go play on the Corn Ferry Tour, won down there, got his card back, and now he's almost like a top 30 player in the world again.
Fantastic. And a great little character for like niche golf internet Twitter.
Yeah, it's like maybe Michael Kim is the comeback player of the year because he won 5 years ago, went away, and now he's big on Twitter.
But yeah, I don't know any other. Lucas Glover's putt, that was ridiculous. He was pretty shitty yesterday, but no one caught him other than Cantley. All the other guys that were closer didn't do enough. And these big events, these long shots winning these big events. It's kind of like breaking me in some respects.
And not being honest. Shout out to Sky, host of the Euro Tour, I guess DP World Tour, Picks and Bet Show. He was on Glover this week and continued the trend that you set a while ago of donating a portion of the winnings to St. Jude itself, the St. Jude Children's Hospital. So that was nice to see. Shout out to our guy, Sky, for being on Glover. But I guess we have to have the conversation about the Ryder Cup, because we kind of joked about it last week, and I think I even made the joke, like, yeah, if Glover wins again, maybe he's back in the conversation. So where I'm at right now, back-to-back wins the last one, wins the first playoff event. He has to be in consideration at this point. The reason that they pushed back the captain selection to where it is right now, it was basically the Billy Horschel rule, right? Where you had to let guys get hot in the playoffs against all the best players. And you're like, well, I guess we got to take him. Like, this rule is in place for a reason. And it's specifically what Glover is doing. I think if they pick the team today, he would probably be on it. But that doesn't mean he is on the team. If he sucks the next 2 weeks, he is not on this team.
Okay, that is totally fair. But this is also like ambiguity in the sense that what is not sucking? Like, if he comes 25th, does he not suck? There's no cut. So what if it's just like a Sunday 64 and a Sunday 67, but he still comes at the back of the pack? Like, there's a lot of ways you can like argue. Like, there's a lot of ways you can dissect it and make a case for any way you want at this point with Lucas Glover. I do think maybe it was like JT has to be officially dead.
I don't agree, but okay.
Oh yeah, okay. I honestly don't agree either, because as someone who bet Europe, it would scare the shit out of me. But I mean, for the integrity of the process, it does at this point feel like it could bastardize it, but at the same time, who freaking cares? JT, you let him come play his own ball on Friday, say be super aggressive and try to go bananas. Like, I don't think that is crazy, but I think a guy like Morikawa's like steadiness though, Pat, is like guaranteed. Not that was ever in doubt, but some people have him in this bubble mix. I do not.
No,
that's kind of crazy talk.
Like right now, like Homa jumped back into the final spot and Xander fell out. So Xander's on the team, Spieth's on the team, Morikawa's on the team. It's the other 3 spots that are up for grabs.
The other 3 spots, and yeah, I don't think I would bring Lucas Glover.
I mean, would you rather? Let's say everything kind of continues. Glover doesn't win any of the next 2 weeks, but he comes like, I don't know, 13th and 10th or something. Like, good enough.
He's on the team.
I think he's on the team. And even if it came down to it right now, like, would I rather take Lucas Glover or would I rather take Cameron Young? Sneakily, I actually think Glover's a really nice fit for this course in Italy. Like, he's the type of guy that the Euros would normally bring to take advantage of the course type that the Americans would never bring, and they might get their hand forced into it. Just kind of like Harmon in a weird way, who kind of fits that course really well. Like, what has Cameron Young done to be on this team?
Really nothing.
Like, Keegan has done way more. Like, I would rather have Keegan than take Cam Young right now. I mean, 2 weeks, you have to play the recent form.
I don't know. I'm out on Keegan. I'm not in on Keegan. I'm more in on Cam Young than I am on Keegan. But
okay.
I'm wrong a lot, and I do agree Keegan is probably a nicer course fit. It is such a wild team. Like, the team you would have put on paper at Christmas to the team you're getting now is absolutely bonkers. It is bonkers. Now, Pat, you have been a guy who pretty much from even then, even at Christmas, looking at the teams, you're like, yeah, I'm still probably going to bet Europe. Yeah, I know. I don't think you've already bet it. I don't think you cared. Like, you leaned it hard enough to like want to bet it or gonna bet enough to like care to lose a few points. But is there a number it could get to where you would lean USA from a bet? Yeah, because I'm seeing it get like crazy now. I've seen like minus 135 for the Americans.
It'll be down. You're going to get a better number by the time this comes around. Like, people are just piling on Europe now because they're going to see the names that get brought. Like, if it ends up being Glover and Ricky and, I don't know, Sam Burns as the final three guys, along with Spieth, Morikawa, the qualifiers, and Xander. And let's say that's the Ryder Cup team that goes. People are going to look at that and be like severely underwhelmed when you see Wyndham Clark and Brian Harmon on the team. And then the odds probably go down to like minus 120, minus 115. You know, I would feel like I basically think it's a coin flip anyway. So the closer you can get me to a coin flip for the USA, then I would start liking their chances a little bit more, like in terms of betting them.
I see. You kind of always saw it as a coin flip. Yeah. I'm always like was gaga for the names, but as I put out at the Open, I bet Europe, and I could change. I got Europe at such a good number, I could change. I could like switch sides.
You don't want to do that.
No, I don't. And it's also I didn't bet enough where like I'm gonna. It's not like a huge. I just wanted to bet it out. This number's not going to get better. I could see the wins happen. Like the winds of change that weren't sexy on paper happening for the American team. But I don't know. Maybe they'll have like crazy chemistry. I'm so excited. It's the only golf I'm truly excited for. Don't get me wrong. Sunday, 4:00, like that's fun. That's fun. But yeah, Ryder Cup. I don't know. Even Phil, I still think Phil's gonna be a captain one day, Pat.
Sure. Then you can bet on it.
Yeah, no, when the people who like the kids he'll be captain for could be like 6 years old today. I just think at one point when all the people involved are not involved, like no one, the new people involved don't have feelings about what happened, he will get the call to do it. Whether that be 10, 15, 20 years, he's going to get the call one day. Captain this thing.
I have a question about the European Ryder Cup points, and maybe you don't know the answer. Maybe someone out there does. That Rory and Rahm are 1 and 2 on both the Euro points list and the World points list. So it's top 3 from both that automatically qualify for the team. So you have Rory, Rahm, and Bobby Mack are the top 3 on the Euro points list, and on the World points list, it's Rahm, Rory, and Hovland. So where do they get excluded from in terms of the actual locks? I assume it's from the World points list because that would make their team potentially a lot better. But you take Rory and Rahm off of the World points list, then your next 3 guys are Hovland, Hatton, and Fleetwood. Where if you took them off the Euro list, you'd be getting Meronk, Yannick Paul, and Robert McIntyre as auto locks.
I'm certain it's how you said it, and I don't even know if there's a set rule for them. I think they can dance it however they feel is necessary for them in any given year.
Okay.
They can finagle.
That makes sense.
Like I would assume it's like their call, how they want to finagle that year in, year out.
Okay. And looking at it right now, and maybe it is Euro points because they have an EP next to their name and they're automatically qualified maybe they're automatically qualified through European points at this point. Like they're on, like Rahm and Rory have clinched enough points to be on the team, just like I believe Scheffler and someone have on the American side of things. But the European swing that's going to happen right now over the next 3 weeks or so is going to be really telling of who the other auto locks are going to be for this team. Because like I mentioned, you have McIntyre, Paul, Meronk, Victor Perez, all within 200 points of each other. And then just slightly behind that, you have Rasmus Højgaard, you have Adrian Otaegi, Jordan Smith is down there. He's a bit farther back than the other guys. But those 5 guys are all within, like if they get a win in the Czech Republic or Switzerland, like they might vault themselves onto this team, like automatically.
There has to be a closing date for them though, too, Pat.
It's Wentworth. No? Wentworth is the last day, or it's before Wentworth or after Wentworth. It's that week.
Okay. I guess that makes sense. Yeah, it's all very telling. I mean, I can flip-flop all the time. Is there anyone anyone who can make Eastlake should automatically be on Europe? I don't even care. Is that even possible for anyone other than
Straka? Like
who's even a bubble boy? Is Straka the only bubble boy potentially there?
I think so. Just trying to take a scan down the list very quickly because I think Rye ended up getting cut, so he's officially done. Yeah, I believe it is him because Jagger ended up getting cut as well this week. Seamus Power is the only other one who could make Eastlake, and the only reason that he's The only reason he's still in the FedEx Cup playoffs at this point is because he went on a run. The Butterfield Bermuda he won. Mayakoba came third, fifth at the RSM Classic. That's where all of his points are from. That's basically a year ago now.
Okay, that is fair. I mean, I guess. I mean, in theory, you would think that there's no way Europe is good enough to take any golfer who makes Eastlake. To not take any golfer who can make Eastlake. But if you do deep dive Seamus, it is, an interesting dance.
Well, someone brought this point up to me on the X yesterday when I was talking about the broadcast, and when I tuned in, it went from the Women's Open, which was actually like thrilling for like the 20 minutes that I watched it, and they cut over to Southwind. For guys we're getting on the course, like Nick Hardy was already 3 under. I was looking forward to betting Nick Hardy this week, but he ended up bogeying out and not making the BMW Championship. So save some money on Nick Hardy. So that's already a win in my books. But they kept talking about the importance and the significance of this bubble watch. And I agreed with them. I was like, this is actually like the compelling story right now. Like, can Glover hold on to this lead and, get back-to-back wins, put himself into the Ryder Cup conversation? That's all great. But the other, B story here, rather than can Matt Fitzpatrick move up 5 points to become 29th in the FedEx Cup? Who cares? He's playing next week. Nothing's on the line for him. He's not going to win this week. There was 8 guys from 46 to 54 that were kind of trading spots. It was Nick Hardy, and then you had Alex Smalley was one who was into the mix at that point. Mac Hughes chipped in twice, got himself in, but then found himself in 51st when everything was done. Rogers gets in, English gets in, Hoagie gets in, Hideki rallies to get himself back in, Cam Davis rallies to get himself back in. And all these guys were on the course, and they would periodically show one of their shots, but they just spent most of their time showing dudes warming up on the range. And not even Lucas Glover's here's Tom Kim. It's okay, great. Tom Kim's warming up. Fantastic. They showed more Tom Kim warm-up shots than the guys on the fucking bubble that they were just talking about that this is so important for. It makes no sense.
They always do a weird song and dance with what they choose to care about.
But they explicitly told us what was important, what we care about, and they just decided not to show that.
Oh, that doesn't surprise me one bit. Again, to my point, it's always interesting to see what they will hype up, what the stories they'll put on the pedestal, but there's no guarantee that they'll even follow through with them on the TV broadcast. It is an incredible, when you actually follow the tour and all of its platforms, it's incredible to see, because that's a regular thing. I mean, that's a high stakes one you're referring to, but that's no surprise. It's par for the course. That's like Tommy missing a clutch one.
By the way, I'm just looking at this leaderboard right now. For Southwind next year, or maybe for Valspar next year, a lot of crossover on that leaderboard. Moore, Shank, and Spieth all finished inside the top 6. They were the final 3 at Valspar this year.
I'm just thinking of other guys.
Connors and Fleetwood have played really well there too.
And you would have thought Burns would have played well, and Hatton kind of loitered a bit.
Burns had a hole in one. That helped.
Yeah.
Not
live clean in place all week though. No, Glover wins. He's putting blindfolded, whatever. He deserves it. But live clean in place all week's a tragedy. It's a tragedy. I guess better all week than when it picks its spots, but no, not impressed.
They were also highlighting on the broadcast, and I guess you want to make the audience aware of it, so that does make some sense, but they're here's Justin Rose's putt to jump from 32nd back inside the top 30. Got to be inside the top 30. He doesn't need to be inside the top 30. Being the difference between 29th and 32nd this week means absolutely nothing. You're going to have to play well this week. That's what matters. For that, to be inside the top 30. It's oh, great. Justin Rose is now 29th in the FedEx Cup standings. If he sucks this week, he is not going to make Eastlake.
Yeah, again, a lot of that. But the Hideki stuff was compelling, but then they'd also not show it. Oh, let you know he made a birdie on 17 to follow up his birdie eagle or something. I agree. I didn't really get to see a lot, Pat. You had a much better Sunday than I did. I took more in on the radio yesterday, but they're all over the place and there's no consistency in what they actually care about on the broadcasts other than like a Michael Block.
Yeah, well, Michael Block was a real story. We're still talking about Michael Block at this point. And it's not Cantlay putting it into the water on the playoff, which I was surprised that he did. And it's funny because when he laid up, or when he took his drop from the water, he moved it back to be just dead on with the pin. It was like 150 yards. Why didn't he just lay up to 150 yards in the first place and hit a pitching wedge? Like, what was the benefit of just getting it to, I don't know, like 125 yards where water's in play, or you can just lay up in front of that thing?
I don't know, man. I mean, no, again, Lucas Glover, golf's hard, like his incredible, but like the breaks the horrible like divots and shit that lies and things that Henley fell into last week, and Cantlay goes into water on tee, open a playoff.
I had a microcosm of that was like a round I played last week. I finally got my game a little bit back. It was awesome. I was striking my irons amazingly, and I just kept getting bad breaks on the front nine. Like I would hit it hole high, and it would just like go off a little bit and then like get nestled down in the one patch of super deep rough. And then, it's like a flub chip out and I make bogey instead of just getting it easily up and down for par. So there's all these bogeys on my card, but I striped it off the tee. I was putting well. There was just a few circumstances where like I ended up getting caught in really bad positions that normally if I hit the shot 10 times that I wouldn't get caught in 9 out of them. But that's just where I found myself on the front nine. On the back nine, I hoselled a shot, it hit a hill, bounced onto the green, I made birdie. Like all of the bad breaks that I got on the front from good shots, all of the poor shots that I hit on the back somehow worked out in my favor, which was really strange. And then I was actually, I've never shot a par on like 4 and 9. I've shot 37 before. Shot 38. I was 1 under on 18 on the back and made double bogey.
That is
classic
that
stuff.
Is life. Yeah.
But it's just,
sure.
Glover's running how I was running on the back nine. Just like whatever break you're going to get, you're going to get. And it's going to flip for him. He's going to end up in like the worst fucking lie in the world and shit like that coming up.
He hit a drive yesterday, Pat, where he totally lost his back foot. Like it totally slipped from under him, and he still piped it 300, like dead center. The guy is, he's running as pure as cust.
That's impossible to do.
As a joke, but
impossible to run as pure as cust, especially on the golf course. For the amount of balls he hits into the trees that bounce into the middle of the fairway, it's unfathomable. And people are genuinely...
I thought you were going to say, like, for the amount of balls he hits on into the trees, and then we walk back to the cart, and he says he made a 5.
No, just like, we will have new people play with us all the time, and they are just, like, wide-eyed and slack-jawed. It's like they saw the producers for the first time sitting in the audience, that they can't believe the amount of luck that he gets from just the world's worst shots. Like, when I'm talking about, like, when I say that I was getting lucky on bad shots, like, instead of hitting, like, a high fade into a par 3. I kind of like, lined it a little bit, but it hit the hill in the right way, deadened it, and it stopped when it got onto the green. Cuss will just like duck hook it into the trees and it'll bounce 80 yards forward.
Well, when you mentioned that they're wide-eyed when they see Cuss, I thought you meant because of his wardrobe.
Well, he is a sartorial prince on the links when it comes down to it. Yeah, I'm glad I didn't have to watch much of it yesterday. I saw Seinfeld on Friday, and I saw Bill Burr yesterday afternoon, evening. Good shows. Bill Burr was excellent, but that's not a surprise. I was actually surprised that Seinfeld was good. Now, apparently, it's the same act he's been doing for 15 years, but I haven't seen him in the past 15 years, so it was new to me, so I thought it was good. But people who had seen him like 10 years ago didn't like the show, if that makes sense.
Yeah, people that paid like a lot of money to see him in Vegas didn't like really enjoy the show yesterday.
That's exactly what happened with my friend. He paid a bunch of money to see him in Vegas, saw the show, went to this one thinking it was going to be like a new set. It wasn't.
Yeah. But I don't think I assume he doesn't come to Halifax often, so he can use that, like that routine can play there like very well.
Absolutely. Like I said, I hadn't seen it.
Your Sunday way better than mine, Pat. I went to a Kids Bop concert. You're like, what the hell is that?
What is that?
They played the amphitheater, okay? Like Budweiser stage, like a real concert venue where real bands play. It's just a bunch of kids singing pop songs, but without any of like the swear words. It's like it's like, and I'm sure in other cities, it's like 4 different kids doing the same thing. It's like a traveling circus. Nonetheless, so we're down there, and then after we go for dinner at in Liberty Village at the local lovely place
right next to our old office. We used to spend many an afternoon at the local.
Yeah, and then the stars of the show like come there for their dinner. So my like 7-year-old is all wide-eyed. It's like when I'm at Seo's restaurant in San Diego as a 9-year-old, and in walks Freddie Jones. It's like 9 people who that'll resonate for, but R.I.P. Seo and his restaurant. That doesn't exist anymore. Neither does Gretzky's. I guess that was like a thing. Wonder if Michael Jordan's still exist. Probably doesn't even exist in Chicago. It was all like, no. So yeah, that was mine. So I got a lot of the radio calls. Shout out Will Haskett and the boys. They always deliver.
The Wiggles are coming to my city. $150 a ticket.
It's like
and they're going to sell out every show.
Every show. Yeah, they probably do 2 a days too,
3,
right?
They're doing 3.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And there's limited.
They'll sell out every show.
Yeah, there's like 20 tickets available left.
I'll be honest, Pat. Like you say, 150, and I don't even know how to quantify. Like everything is so expensive now to do anything like that's a semblance of fun that like I don't even know how to quantify if that's a ripoff. Like just based on the price that like to do anything fun's a goddamn fortune. I don't mean fun for, our fun's a fortune too. So, to fly to Vegas in October, right now, if I wanted to book my ticket any weekend in October, it's like over $2,000.
Really?
What the fuck is going on?
Oh wow, those tickets that I was looking at are like the back end tickets. The ones that I'm looking at now that are still available are $232 a ticket. I don't know if I want to pay that for my kids to like half pay attention to the Wiggles. Although I know that they'd enjoy it for 5 minutes, but I'll be at $1,000 by the time it's all over.
Yeah, just let them watch like an hour's worth on Netflix. They'll get the same, but I don't know. That's up. Yeah. I don't have a clue.
We watched the Mario movie this weekend. That was a big hit.
Yeah, on Prime. We spent a rainy Saturday putting that on too. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Should we move on to the BMW Championship?
Yeah, we should, I guess.
It is the second leg of the FedEx Cup playoffs. There's only 50 players in the field. There is no cut this week. It's par 70, 7,366 yards. I did the research show for Olympia Fields CC North Course, thanks to our friends at the Fried Egg who broke it down, had all the pictures of it because I couldn't find a flyover. So if you want to read more about the course, you can go check those out after you listen to this and watch the research show. That would be very nice of you. Remember to smash the like while you're here. I'm playing the Week 1 DraftKings Listeners League as well. I like this. If it resembles anything like it did in 2020, which by all indications it is, this is the perfect penultimate event on the PGA Tour. I want to see these guys face a real challenge. Because I remember one year, was it wherever it was, I think Thomas or Cantlay won. Like the winning score was like -28 or something stupid like that. Like give me a -5 winner in the FedEx Cup playoffs. That's what I want to see.
That's what I want. Because, well, firstly, we have not had a hard, I mean, you could, however you want to grade the US Open is up to you, Pat. You could make a case. We have not played a hard golf course since Memorial, like scoring wise. These guys have not, whether it's just been conditions, you can't control what happens at the Open. Obviously, you have like the muck birdie bonanzas that surround the Open, those sorts of events, but we have not seen a test since Memorial, and no one loves a test more than the guy I bet every week. I was insulted. I golfed with a good friend on Friday, and it was obviously after Victor's bad rounds Thursday, not to, foreshadow here. Because what are you going to do? You're just going to bet Hovland every week? Like, and then as Hovland's like making his insane runs every day that then go backwards, I'm like thinking, I'm insulted he asked me that. Like, I take offense to that, even though it's a totally fair and legitimate question. What are you going to do? You just going to bet Hovland every week? Probably.
And that's what you're going to do here? Just bet Hovland?
Hard. When like the test is up, obviously like there's the big three. I can't debate them, and Cantley's in form and he's won here. It's perfect.
He hasn't won.
But
here.
FedEx Cup machine, this leg.
Yeah, he's won the BMW. He's won the BMW Championship back-to-back years. He did not win at this course.
Yes, that's a mistake. And also like how never mind. Like Finau won the first leg, but he obviously never won Southwood. No, never mind. Sometimes the FedEx Cup wording and how people word things, including myself, I confuse myself. I apologize for that. But when conditions are tough, that's when Victor plays the best. That's when he's his best. That's when everyone else is in the most trouble when it comes to him. So yes, test. I love a test. To your point, let's make these guys work for everything. To some people would say, let's have Olympia Fields be the U.S. Open we didn't get.
And that might end up being the case, because when we saw this in 2020, Rahm made a charge on Sunday from way back. He was way back on Saturday, made a bit of a charge. Then on Sunday, made a bit of a charge. And Dustin even had to make a putt to get into the playoff with him. And then Rahm just shoved it in his face, made a 60-footer on the first playoff hole. And that was that. The winning score was -4. And when you take a look at the guys that were at the top of the leaderboard that year, it's a lot of guys that went to live and guys who play well at U.S. Opens. And it kind of like this course will kind of just chip away at you. Like, yeah, people are going to make double bogeys. People make double bogeys everywhere. There's 91 bunkers. There are 8 holes with water in play, but just like the absurd bogey rates on some of these holes. I think that there are 7 holes with over a 27% bogey rate. Like, it's insane.
Can't wait.
So,
Love it.
Yeah,
Guys are going to like evaporate. And hopefully it's not the guys I bet on, but guys are going to evaporate quickly.
Well, let's get to the top odds. At DraftKings Sportsbook, Scheffler, Rahm, Rory, or Scheffler, Rory, Rahm at this point, 6.5, 7 to 1, 8.5 to 1. Cantlay has moved into that mix as well with the playoff loss, and being the two-time BMW champion is 10 to 1. And then there's a gap down to Xander and Hovland, both at 16. Fleetwood, Tommy Ladd at 18 to 1. Then Hatton and Morikawa at 22. Homa and Spieth at 25. Glover, the glove, and Ricky Fowler both at 28 to 1 is where the odds stand on DraftKings Sportsbook right now.
Did you see the book that likes to give a boost? Like tried to catch they were boosting to a Glover 40 this morning, Pat.
Well, it's only boosting to a Glover 33 right now as I look at it in real time.
Oh my god, people went for it. Good for them. Good. Listen, it's probably the people won it last week, went back again. You mentioned Sky. I know our boy Bamford hit that, so credit to everybody who's like, no, I'm riding this Glover shit.
Well, it's just like when 27 red hits on the roulette wheel. You don't, and I hit it. You don't think I'm betting 27 red again the next spin? I'm hitting it until it stops winning. Like if I had been riding Glover each of the past 2 weeks, I would bet him again this week.
Yeah, when they hand you that stack of chips, when you hit it the first time, you're certainly leaving the stack you won, or maybe even putting another stack on top of 27 red. I'm not disagreeing with that. We didn't do that though, Pat. When we hit the Bryson at 80,
I know
we didn't do it. We didn't go back. That was like 5 years ago. I don't know. Still complaining about a loser. Yeah, Rory seems to be the guy everyone is running for at the top. You mentioned of like the super high end. Yeah, I've seen a lot of people I don't even see like play that high end of the board. He's contending without what people seem to think is his A game.
I would tend to agree. Like, you just look at his ball striking last week. He gained over 9 strokes ball striking, dropped 2 around the greens, and he gained on the greens, but nothing significant enough to really make some damage. And he was there at the end with everyone. Like, a few more putts drop for him, a few chips are a little bit closer, and boom, he wins the first leg of the playoffs. We know how well he plays at this time of year based on the amount of FedEx Cup championships that he has. I'd look at some of the other guys. Like Rahm just felt like he was stuck in neutral all week. It wasn't a very good showing for him, but a lot of his bad stats came from Thursday, and he kind of rallied back throughout the course of the week. And Scheffler, like, just legit couldn't make a putt. But that shouldn't be shocking to anyone. But this feels like a course where you can kind of get away with that a little bit, like U.S. Open style. Of course, you can always putt yourself out of a tournament and not capitalize on the amount of opportunities. But I will gladly take driving and irons this week and just, roll the dice on putting rather than the other way around.
Yeah, I mean, everything Olympia Fields, like, it's major teeth, driver, irons, and hope you get on the right side of putts, which can be difficult. But if Lucas Glover can do it, that's got to be motivating to all the shitty putters out there, like, to just keep working.
Yeah.
Get a kitchen table broomstick and maybe you'll win.
I played with a guy who had one this week. First time I think I've ever played with a guy with a giant putter.
I don't think I have.
It's a real it's a real commitment as a guy who plays like once a week to have the really long putter. And I asked him, I was like, why'd you do it? He's like, well, I couldn't putt and I had this. He's like, I used to use it when you were allowed to anchor, like way back, like 10 years ago. So I just went back to it. He's like, when you miss, it is embarrassing because you miss by so much.
So I would like to make this point. I'm sure the anchor in that method could help, like a lot of amateurs like myself. I'm the guy that's going to, at best, get out a couple times a week in the summertime. Things are running pure. I'd still rather just miss my putts with a normal putter. Like, I then look at like that doofus, have everyone looking at you. Every time you're playing with strangers, you got to answer goddamn questions. Like, just you get to write down a 97 instead of a 94. Like, unless you're like trying to make gains or play for true money or something. I don't know why any normal guy would ever reduce themselves to that.
Maybe they just want to be better. Maybe they are not as embarrassed as you are. Maybe they think it's a very nice conversation starter. We did talk about it. He didn't seem to be like annoyed.
Literally, then you know what my advice for that guy would be? Because I never do this, but this is like the move. Instead of playing 18 holes, you play 9 holes and then go practice for 2 hours. Or practice for 2 hours and then go play 9 holes and go stand on that putting green one afternoon and you're an amateur. You do not need a broom. You're not even an amateur. An amateur would mean that you are like playing in like regional qualifiers. You are just a guy. You do not need a broom as a guy. You threw
out the 12-hole, I think it was an Alistair McKenzie 12-hole course that someone was going to play, and Cuss was outraged by 12-hole courses. I actually love the concept of 12-hole courses, and maybe not for the reason that people think. Like, would I go play it? Yeah, absolutely, I would go play it, especially if I was pressed for time. Like, 12 is better than 9, and that, I mean, basically all you have right now. Like, I can play 11 at my course, and then you just like walk to the clubhouse because the clubhouse is very easily accessible. Like, so instead of playing 9, I can play 11, which I'm fine with. If I was only going to play 9 to begin with, get a few extra swings in, it's glorious. But for 12, the people that slow you down at public courses, especially late in rounds, when they get fatigued, they stop paying attention. I know a couple people like this. Like, they're fine to play with for 10 holes. Then the final 8 holes, like, they're completely checked out. They start taking forever. You get those people off the course and they're only playing at the 12-hole course. Just makes it easier for you to play. That's why I like it.
Yeah. And that came from a follow on Twitter, Thichter Hovland, and he corrected it. It is an A.W. Tillinghast, not an Alistair McKenzie, but it's a 12-hole course at Belmont Golf in Richmond. And like you said, I don't know that I'd go there with my buddies, but I'm not against that sort of concept. I am not. I think golf, just like golf betting, like people can laugh at dudes who play outrights and they're just crushing head-to-heads and doing their things. Choose your own adventure. Like, whatever works for you. If 12 holes is for you, like, I got no problem with that. And I'd also say something that would get me smacked today. But if they reinvented the sport today and made it like the 9s were 7s, I wouldn't have one issue with that either. I mean that. So people might want to put a gun in my head right now, but whatever. And if you want to go play 36 holes, do it. Go for it. I don't care. Whatever you want to do, whatever's good for you.
Yeah, Alistair McKenzie almost died 100 years ago, so it's probably unlikely that he designed that course. If it's
But apparently, well,
I mean, is it an
whatever
old
this
that's
course
redone?
was the first public course to host a major.
Okay, so it is an old course that's redone.
Yes.
Oh, okay, that makes more sense. I don't have a ton of interest from these top odds guys, 30 to 1 and under. Like, I kind of agree with you. I think it's a nice spot for Schauffele or Vic. I don't know if I'll get to the 16 to 1. Do I want to go to the top with Scotty, Rahm, or Rory? Maybe. And based on the card that I might construct, that might be the way that it goes. Or do I just kind of stick with Hatton, who, like, when I look at his numbers, he couldn't chip or couldn't putt. That's very atypical of Hatton this week. He actually struck the ball really well. That maybe I just kind of go back to the well with him. I don't think that he's going to be a popular bet, and probably for good reason, because he doesn't win just like Tommy does, but his underlying numbers continue to be very good, and I think that number is going to drop from 22, that we'll probably see a 28 by the time that Wednesday gets around, so maybe I wait for that, but that's where I would be looking right now.
On Hatton.
Yeah.
So
Because I know what two guys down the board I want to bet.
you could get way bigger at your favorite book.
I know, Jeff. I'm talking about the odds from DraftKings Sportsbook that are in front of me.
And DraftKings will raise it up probably to get closer to that
That's
too.
what I just said.
Yeah, no, I know you did. So I was just backing up me saying being an idiot by reinforcing something you said. But I didn't know. You made it seem like you didn't even know that existed, but I should be smarter than that, than to know that exists. I guess this would be the toughest question with Hatton because he's been so good for so long. When was the last time he actually played poorly, and how did he play the next week? But you could almost argue it's been so long that's irrelevant at this point.
I don't know. He missed the cut. So I think he missed the cut at the Travelers. I think that's where it was. Let me see here. Yeah, he's played kind of poorly in his past two starts. Like, he came 43rd last week. He was 20th at the Open. The last time he missed a cut was at Valero after coming second at the Players. Then he came 34th at the Masters, which is just a place where you're not touching Hatton with a 10-foot pole. That seems to be
which is great for him.
Yeah. I mean, he came 40th at the Genesis, then at Riviera, then was 4th at Bay Hill. So, I don't know. Like, he's missed 1 cut, 2 cuts, 3 cuts in the past 2 years. Not that there is a cut
as you
this
have
week,
sort
he
of
just generally plays
as
well.
you have sort of pointed out many times, when me or even other people bring out Hatton's reputation of being a hard course player and not to like him in Birdie Fest, but he obviously has a great track record in Birdie Fest. He really he's almost proven course proof, because the harder it gets, my Hatton senses start tingling again as well.
Yeah, he's played really well in Birdie Fest overseas. That's kind of been his jam, but it's obviously against much weaker competition, so we can get away with that. And it's usually on link-style courses, although I think he won in Switzerland as well at some point. He's won in Dubai, but when you see where he's done well in America, it generally has been in a lot of harder courses. So, I mean, if you...
And you've been, I would say for you, I am guilty of this. I have my guys. Outside of majors, you've been pretty ride or die Hatton in a lot of spots this year.
I agree. I don't think I have bet him in a major so far this season, which is kind of strange to think about. That's the funny thing about Glover, too. He didn't get to play in a major this year.
Unbelievable. What a sport. Oh, that's incredible.
And the reason I keep getting drawn back into Hatton at these elevated events or whatever he plays that are the non-majors, that he's had a chance to win almost all of them. Phoenix, I guess there was a 3-man race because Nick Taylor was way out ahead, but he ended up coming 6th there. That was in his first start. I didn't bet him that week, but I bet him at Bay Hill. He came 4th. I bet him at the Players. He never had a chance to win, but he did come in 2nd. He was 3rd at Quail Hollow. He was 5th at the Byron Nelson. He was 3rd in Canada. He was 6th at the Scottish, being the betting favorite on the back nine. He's been so close in so many of these that just, you're not going to lose them all. Eventually, you're just going to have a good Sunday and win one of them. It's kind of like the Tommy thing. Yeah, Tommy can't close. It's becoming a running joke. But dude is fucking in contention every single week with a chance to win.
I know, but Pat, it was going to fit so perfectly with we'd have gone from Finau to Zalatoris to Fleetwood. It was like magic for this leg of the Cup and getting the dudes off the mat. And he can't even hit these little putts. Huh. Okay, Hatton is your favorite. Mine is Hovland enhanced win to 18. Next week's stupid, so this is the finale. I'm not missing the finale. I hope it's a great season finale.
Yeah, for reference, there's a 33 on Hatton out there if people want to bet that, which I would bet over the 22, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, I assume you're a win only guy in that market anyway. So
yeah,
let's go.
So if we go down the board, the 30 plus range, there's actually 2 guys I really like this week. 3 guys I really like at deeper odds, maybe even 4. And if people watch the research show, they know this. I haven't made any of the wagers yet. I'm waiting for the numbers to materialize to the spot that I want them. We mentioned Keegan Bradley. I think this is a great Keegan Bradley course. He's 70-1 on DraftKings Sportsbook. He too has won the BMW Championship in the past. I think he won it at however the hell you say that one. So he's 70-1. I like him. I like Corey Connors this week. DraftKings has him at 40, but I think that there are better numbers. Yeah, you can get 10 more points on him elsewhere, maybe even more. And the other one was Ben And, 75-1. Like everything that I looked at, stats-wise, recent form, history, hard events, everything just kept coming up Byung-Hun An. He finished 12th here in 2020, the last time he played in the BMW Championship. And when you look at the best players off the tee in terms of both strokes gained off the tee and driving distance, there's 5 that stick out over the past 24 rounds of the best players on tour right now. And you would guess 4 of them pretty easily of who the best drivers are. And then there's Ben And.
Obviously Corey came through on banana standing last week. He finished 7th or in that
T6
at T6. I don't each way that, so sucks to be me. The other ones feel like huge asks, but like Ben.
Okay, well, why does I have to ask you why Keegan feels like a big ask?
No. I was more on Ben And. I actually really like Keegan. He does, as much as I took my shot in the Ryder Cup discussion. I really like Keegan if I know the course is going to be like really hard or potentially on that fine line of impossible for some players. I actually like Keegan more. Obviously you'd be each weighing that, and I'm not going to talk that one down at all. There are probably ways to make money on Ben and for peace of mind, I could see why you would add that outright, because you're going to invest in him in probably a lot of places, even DFS and all over the board.
It's funny because I really haven't bet him at all this year. I might bet him first round leader as well because he's been very good in first rounds. But I mean, when you go look at his profile, it's not necessarily like Scheffler-esque because his irons are wildly inconsistent. They're either bad or really good. So you have to hope it's one of the really good weeks. But the chipping and putting is the chipping and driving is elite. And you have to hope he doesn't put himself out of the tournament, which he's been better at doing recently.
I can't stop now that we're literally at the last field regular betting situation event of the year. It's so what like I just throw up on myself every week in a big event where I'm like, I don't know, there's only 25 guys that can win. And like time and time again this year, it's been insane. And forever be like, we have to make like a long shot collab articles. Be like, what's the point? Like these long shots never hit. It's been a summer of them, and not happy about it. Although I'm happy for the golfers winning and my friends winning the bets.
So
I'm not happy about
Connors and Bradley Svensson. I'm not really sold on Connors all the way because I don't love the number. Like I don't really see him all that different than Ben And or Bradley. I don't understand why Bradley has dropped so much lower than all of these guys, considering he's won twice this year and generally competes well at U.S. Open. So I like to see that as well because that's sort of like the benchmark that I'm looking at this week of the type of player that I want. But Svensson is the other one at 125-1. The numbers tell me he's very good. And whether he had a 10 shot difference between his putting at the Wyndham and his putting last week. But the ball striking has been on point for Svensson now for I think like 5 straight events. Let's see. Yeah. And the best he's finished is 7th over that time, but he's gained at least 5 strokes tee to green each of his past 4. He dropped 6 strokes last week, but gained almost 3 on approach. He's gained an average of 3 on approach per tournament over his past 3. It was nice to see him do that again against a very strong field versus a rather weak field. Now, a lot of his numbers do come against weak fields, but if he can find his putter a little bit in bent grass, I don't know, with like POA trivials or POA overseed, whatever that might be, but just they're calling it bent on the GC page that I'm looking at. His best surface is bent, and if he's going to actually make some putts this week, I'm not really concerned about the driving or the approach play. That he's at the very bottom of the betting board, and maybe the outright isn't the way that you want to look at this. Maybe it's a top 10, but I do think that there is some value in Adam Svensson.
I mean, the guy lost with his approaches for 2 straight months, and now he's come back. He's found them again. So that's where the bread and butter is. 4 Canadians are in the top 50, and Hughes finished 51. So that's going to be a lot of Canadians in the, which will be big for them with the race for the President's Cup spots in Canada. But now they'll all be in the elevated events next year.
Correct.
Those guys, which is another small thing. I saw people discussing that it was clutch for guys who might need exemptions that Hideki got in.
Yes.
Because him and JT would have gobbled up half of the exemptions available for these elevated events each time around, pretty much.
For sure. So that's sort of where I'm looking at. If we do the quick picks for this event, unless there's anyone else you really want to go into.
I thought you might make a better case for a Morikawa off the mat.
I mean, it's going to come down to chipping and putting, like a lot of the times, to save yourself, and that's just not kind of his jam. Maybe he keeps himself out of those issues. But, I've been right. I mean, I'm not seeing the best of numbers on Morikawa at the moment. I would like to see better numbers on Morikawa. Like he's firmly like the best number you can kind of find right now is 25-1, and I don't know. I don't see a big difference between him and Hatton. If I can bet Hatton at 33, I would just rather bet that.
I would actually at this might be crazy because Hatton's not like a prolific winner, but I do trust Hatton more than Morikawa at this moment. Another guy getting a lot of, I don't even know that the odds have changed, but I think a lot of people watched yesterday and what happened and were like, I want to bet him. And we just spoke about it. That would be Hideki Matsuyama, driver, irons. He has been so, we kind of debated it a couple of weeks ago. I was arguing for the case that his season's been better than like you were giving him credit for, but at the same time, he had to fight.
His season was so good, he barely made it to the second round of the playoffs.
Yeah, so like anyone like me that was trying to glad hand him, maybe like put some air in his tires in that respect. Like once I was seeing, wait, he actually has to like go bananas to make this. Maybe his season wasn't as good. I don't know. I just thought it was consistent. Obviously, there were downturns and he didn't do enough, so he put himself in that spot. Anyway, he was great around the greens last week, Pat, which is, a staple for him, but he was horrible at the Wyndham. So there are no concerns there. I guess of any sort of carryover.
And he was shitty off the tee. And people will look that he came 3rd at this tournament in 2020, and then when you dig into the numbers, you'll see that he gained 6 strokes around the greens and actually didn't hit the ball very well. So that's not something that I really want to rely on. I think that he'll be a popular bet this week, and I can't really argue against it. I'm going to bet on guys who aren't going to win, but I would rather go down with the Hatton ship at the same number than bet Hideki.
Yeah, he's been a real tough guy to pinpoint when to get on, when to not. But hey, it doesn't really matter. You haven't missed a win.
No, he hasn't finished better than T5 in over a year.
It was the Players.
He came 5th at the Players. That's his best finish in a year.
But he's also like, I don't know.
He's like the king of the T23 this year. T13.
So he's almost been, and he's had these like peak moments, these like ceiling rounds where I guess it does enough to suck you back in again as a guy who bets him and tracks him, that he's doing like enough where you think it could pop and you trust his pedigree if he got into the end with one of the big boys. But I don't know, does that matter? I just watched Windy, Harmon,
Glover,
Keegs, and Glover close out. Shit. What a season, Pat. What a season.
I know.
Holy shit.
Well,
wasn't a great season for me, but happy for some people.
We'll talk about the Tour Championship next week, and maybe we'll even do a quick season in review show the week after, as we have that little in between time between the PGA and when football starts. Maybe we take a week off. Who knows? But the quick picks for the BMW Championship, I'm going to go with Ben An, Keegan Bradley, and Svensson. 66, 75, and 125, all within each way to 5 places, I think I'll go with. And then I'm really circling the wagons on Hatton and Connors. But if I don't get there, I mean, there's a chance I go with Rory or Rahm, but I'm not feeling that as much right now. It's probably going to be Hatton, Connors, and Bradley Svensson, and just continue my year of losing and have fun doing it.
Yeah, that's the good part. Fun, as long as you doing it responsibly, you can have fun doing it. Like, I'm already prepared. My motto for football season, Pat, is fun and sadness. Is I'm going to have fun. We are going to have fun tossing that pigskin, but we are going to be sad. We're going to be sad. For me, I don't know why I didn't talk about him during the show. Maybe I'm ashamed, but not of this. Victor Hovland, 18-1 enhanced win. That bet is in. I bet Cam Young at 55-1 an enhanced win this morning. I don't know. I wasn't even a big Cam Young guy, but I'm a sucker now.
Yeah. Now
it's late in the summer as he's gotten worse. I was never there. I was never on any of his close calls. I don't know why I feel like I need to be not even chasing it. I was on it last week. I thought the number was big. I saw it this morning. It looked big. I am there, even though he's not really doing things right. So I'm still there.
Well, that will do it on the Pat Mayo Experience. Play in the Week 1 DraftKings Listeners League. RunTheSims.com has all that information for you right now. If you want to get the annual package, use code Mayo. Get yourself 10% off, and there's new tools coming within the next 2 weeks, especially for your real fancy high-end daily fantasy players. Has something, it already runs 10,000 simulations of your own projections, your own lineups. But let's say you were able to add, tournament simulations into that as well to construct your optimal lineup with leverage in play with all of that. Wouldn't that sound fun? RunTheSims.com. Code Mayo for all of that coming very, very soon. You get into your preseason notes as well. You might as well get it now before the price gets jacked up. That's what I would do, but I get it for free because I co-own the site. So, yeah. You should do it too. Smash the like, sub to the channel on the way out, and I will see you next time.
BMW Experience! Experience!